There is something called the white collar recession, and it's hitting tech quite hard as well. We're hearing about all these redundancies, people being laid off in the US, in multiple places across the world, and it's a bit scary. It's not the same. When we were talking about previously how to find your niche, how to really tailor into that, it's now a priority.
Absolutely. And I think that that's why I call it the spray and pray approach. Oh, I meet the skill set, so I'll just apply. And then you get to this phone screen and they'll ask you the very standard questions that they tend to do. What made you want to apply for this role? And then you are there, because you didn't have a coherent application process, and what value can I add, which then ties into what you were saying before, which is what am I good at? You know? Not to mention the absolute fatigue and time that it takes to do those applications. So I am really trying to ensure I do it with intent, and that I am very clear on being able to answer that question. I think it's a great term you mentioned before, or what to call it in regards to a white collar recession.
Yeah, it's happening. I have a few questions around being laid off, as we both have been laid off in the past. My first question is, how do you reconcile being told your role is no longer required with a career built on delivering measurable value?
That's a bit of a brain teaser. I'll turn it around on you first just to get your opinion, and then
Yes,
I think I'll
sure.
maybe be able to jump in after that.
So for me, it was an interesting time because you're used to being extremely busy, got a lot of things on the go. Your mind gets used to working at speed, and having that taken away feels quite disempowering. And being someone who does like to add value and achieve measurable results, it can be like a rug pull. So the way that I chose to deal with it, and it was advice that was given to me by a colleague, is have a project. So have a project, structure your life, because once you stop working, there is no structure anymore. And that can be disorienting. It can be quite scary, a place to sit in. But having a project, something that you can control each phase and the outcomes. The first thing I chose to do was declutter my house. I've been wanting to do that for years. I'm a massive Marie Kondo fan, and I just wanted a really clean, tidy, organized, functional environment. And it took me months.
Did it feel a bit like you were cleansing the space?
I'd open my linen cupboard, and things would fall out. So what did I do? Nothing. I'd just shove them all back in and close it, and then next time it would happen again. Like, why don't you just clean it? Why don't you just figure it out? I'm not tripping over things. Or I even found things I thought I'd lost. I was able to give people things that I had, which I forgot I had, that were actually helpful.
I do love that. That's really interesting. This is your sanctuary. This is a place where I think through the turbulence of redundancy, your home is your sanctuary, and that's the only place that you can really come into and be vulnerable, feel scared, and you want to be able to do it in a place that is going to reinforce that sense of it belonging to you. Going back to your question though, because I think that was an absolutely great example. My project was myself. I took every bit of energy that I could possibly think of. And at times it's quite hard because I am so delivery and outcome focused, but the things that I was doing, you weren't just able to see results straight away, especially when it had a lot to do with going back through my experiences and reconciling my journey so far, that whether that be through reflections, deep dives, coaching, mentoring, it did mentally and emotionally take a lot for me. I think because I did have the physical aspect, which was probably where a lot of my focus was in terms of the project of me.
What do you mean physical?
What I've physically, I mean, in terms of my wellbeing journey, I started integrating a daily gym program. I signed up and started working with a personal trainer who's become one of my very good friends, and we really did a lot of deep diving into what it means to have a healthy body. It's a very intimidating environment, but I challenged myself to go there. I very quickly realized that there's such lovely people of all ages. Everyone's very helpful, and it is a real personal journey of discipline and strength. Those are the words that are written
What
on
are your quick wins? If you have your project of you, what have been your quick
project of
wins?
me. My quick wins is that I have been working with an amazing coach that has led me to the development of and clarification of my goals, my values, and a vision statement for my life that was designed by me, which is a really, really powerful force that has given me a lot of comfort, guidance, and direction, and clarity. It's given me parameters to start looking at certain things in my life as to, does this align with my values? If I want to live in this particular way, does this enable that, or does it hinder?
And have you given much thought to that previously with your roles and choosing roles?
Not as seriously as this, because I didn't have the clarity that I had. Okay. So through the program that I've been doing, we have identified both what what they call meta values, and then within each of those values. So how do you want to experience this particular value? First one is health and well-being. So I do have my spirituality aspect in there, as I do believe that it contributes overall, but health and well-being first and foremost. Second one is self-development and knowledge seeking. The third one is relationships and connection. Um, and I think that in times, especially going through the uncertainty and the experience of redundancy, having people to reach out to, or having people in your support system that are encouraging
Hmm.
and supportive and reinforcing that there is nothing wrong with you, that things are changing and life can be like this, but still, what can I do?
Interesting that you bring that up because I think from a Gen X point of view, we're so stoic and self-sufficient that reaching out or asking for help it's a challenge, I would say. It doesn't come naturally.
Mhm.
And I, in particular, haven't prioritized relationships, and that can be very isolating.
And I would say that relationship dynamics, or relationships and connection for me was, while I thought it was important, I was like, where is it in my action? I really had to go out of my comfort zone, as I was doing with a lot of other things in a sense,
Mm.
be vulnerable. Even with the people close to me, because I can still be such a concrete pillar of strength in a sense that it's people ask me how I'm going. I'm like, oh, everything's fine.
Oh, so have you got a job yet? How about I let you know?
I can foresee the course of my life if I continue down this path. Is this something that I want? And something like, have you got a job yet? It sort of cuts off the ability, I think, to be able to think outside of the
Mm.
square, because maybe that's not what you're focused on right now. Maybe you're trying to build a business. Maybe you're trying to build, yourself into a space of like thought leadership and speaking and advising on very specific things that you're extremely passionate and skilled in.
Yeah. Around that, actually, that's really interesting you brought that up. So, what was harder to process, the professional loss of scope and influence, or the personal impact on your identity?
Personal impact on my identity. I don't particularly subscribe to my self-worth being in the hands of other people, whether that be in influence, whether that be in any sort of audience or leadership or anything like that. But my hit to my personal identity was felt a lot more. And I think from that shook various things that I didn't even realize were there. When you're sitting there, as you said, in the quiet afterwards, because we do move at pace. It's go, 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 go. You're juggling a million different things. And when that ramps down and maybe, yes, you're putting your project together, you're going to the gym, you're Marie Kondoing your place, there's still that processing in the back of your mind that is happening. Personal identity was a huge thing for me. What about yourself?
For me, it was more a case of a lot of people kept saying, it's not personal. It's not personal. And it's like, are you sure about that? And so, you kind of, well, was it? You start thinking,
So that's a very good point that you're highlighting. Where's the conclusion of that
"Mm."
to say, like, okay, maybe it was personal, maybe it wasn't.
So the question I had for both of us was, how do you keep your confidence intact when you know the decision wasn't about your performance, yet you still have to explain it to recruiters or your network? And that's where I kind of got stuck initially, because you know what you can do, you know what you can achieve. So how do you prove that? And there is a lot of bias in the market still about job loss, whether it's being made redundant or whether it's being fired or whether you left on your own volition for whatever reason. It
Mm,
doesn't matter. You ended a role. And what that means is if you're made redundant, like we were, your role was no longer required, which means you have nothing more to offer the company. That's how it comes across. So, how do you keep your confidence intact when you are no longer required? Like everything that you poured into it
mm.
actually ends up being null and void.
I've had the privilege and opportunity to sit among a lot of leadership teams. I've heard how they make decisions. I've seen how they strategize. And when it comes to workforce changes, there are so many factors that go into it. So I built up a bit of a wall in between me and what those decisions can look like. And I've continued to hone myself. Does your confidence take a hit? Of course it does. We're human beings. However, I really, really did understand, because of that exposure, that it wasn't personal, that decisions
Good
have to
answer.
be made and it wasn't personal. Now, that doesn't mean that it's still not personal, because it is impacting me personally. Organizations are changing. So for the fact that we as the employees and the workforce have to carry the burden of why things have changed when we're not even privy to the information as to why, I do think that that's quite unfair. And I do feel like that is slowly starting to, and has to, almost in a sense, that narrative has to change. Because tell me where I can apply for a role that has some solid 30, 40 year potential to stay in that company. It doesn't exist anymore. We don't know why they chose us.
Mm.
Love to hear your thoughts.
Well, there was a person who also got made redundant at the same time as myself. And within 3 months, he was hired back as a contractor. So he wasn't required, but now he is. So what I'm saying is there a broader way of looking at this when you can let go of someone and then bring them back so suddenly? And that's not isolated. That happens all the time.
Absolutely.
You get paid out and then you get brought back as a contractor for higher pays. Not all of us get to win the lottery, but yeah.
Money aside, would you want to walk back into that company? Yeah.
You know
Okay.
what?
And, and, and again,
I think things happen for a reason. So
yes.
it's hard to get that view until you've been away for a while. So perhaps that's the way. But I'll tell you what, it does change how I evaluated employers moving forward. The
Okay.
jobs that I selected to
In what
apply for.
way?
Therefore, I would look at employers that were a lot more stable financially.
Mm-hmm.
I would look at the industry and see where is the industry at? Is it expanding? Is it contracting? I would look into the leadership and see what sort of a professional brand they have. What are they posting on LinkedIn? Do I want to work with people like that? Do I align with their views? And I dug really deep, and especially in the financials,
Mm.
because if they're a company, and I did a lot of research into this actually, into investors and how they choose companies to invest in, and where companies could be at a stage where they're taken over by a larger company, because that happened to me. I needed to intellectualize how I um, choose the next role in the next company based on, are they the market leader? Are
Mhm.
they challenging the market leader? Because then they might be bought out. I think that's overkill, but that's how I reacted. Did you change the way you evaluate future employers? And if so, other than the values, how did that look for you?
Now, I have not dug that deep, although that sounds exactly, especially if we are trying to avoid having this conversation again with a potential recruiter, dare I say.
Well,
Yeah.
having this conversation again in a year's time, that's what I'm trying to avoid,
Exactly.
or less than a year's time.
Listening, as we know and as we've experienced in previous roles, like the pace of change is drastically increasing. That mentality of first in, first out is very real. And you could be thinking that you're signing up to the role of your dreams, you're 3 months in, you're planning your life. I'm gonna look at buying a property, buying a house, and we're looking at starting a family. You start building upon those things. And then all of a sudden, as you said, the carpet gets pulled under from you, and then you're back into the ocean, the big blue ocean that we're all swimming in at the moment. And that is extremely that's very jarring. And so I fully agree. I would rather err on the side of caution, but I certainly do have a different lens, or a more sort of sharpened lens. I added in my values, longer term goals, the way I want to show up, and I want to participate. The shift for me has also been, how does this serve me now and exactly as you said, in my longer term plan? Because I tend to have a habit of diving so deep into the organization, what they're looking for, what their strategic imperatives are, how can I get involved, my blood, my sweat, my tears, my hours, my minutes, my seconds, all just dedicated to that, with no real regard of what I am outside of that role, that title. And that is not a mistake that I will be making again. When you're so stressed out and you got so much going on that you forget about yourself, to then have to come to a point where you'll bring your head above water and then have to go back down again. No. So there's definitely a lot more of a closer values alignment to organizations. I'm looking at what they're doing. How are they supporting the people that are creating this, that are working towards this vision that they have? This is the way that I can contribute towards that. And also remembering, what's in it for me too, Ashley? What's in it for me? Because with the no promise of that job security, I think it's a recipe for disaster for the individual. I think you need to be able to have a little bit of selfishness, in the sense to be like,
Mm.
what is in it for me? And while I'm contributing and delivering and doing amazing work, how is this feeding into my longer term goals and the way that I want to live my life?
I've got a question. How do you approach networking after layoff so it doesn't feel like you're asking for help, but instead reinforcing your value proposition? I'll go first. I am terrible at this.
Yeah,
I'm not very good at asking for help. In fact, it's one of my biggest weaknesses.
we're never going to be great at everything. We would just rather see it as, just talking to other people. Where I try my best to continue to approach this from a place of, what can I give? So if I'm reaching out to someone and say, we're like, let's meet up, we'll have a coffee, we'll chat. And I might know that this is the person that I need to talk to maybe have a few things shift in my direction towards where I want to go. That is the last thing that I talk to them about. It's been really interesting to me the way that you work. Oh, I have some questions, and let's be honest, people love talking about themselves when people come to them for, guidance, advice, something like that. So you go in there and it's very casual. So as much as possible, really try and keep it focused on them. And usually the question will always come up, what are you doing? And a lot of the time, by the time we get to that question, the words out of their mouth after, what are you doing is, and how can I help?
Wow.
My super skill is is collaborating with people. Stakeholder engagement is what the formal skill set you could say is called, but I really enjoy talking to people. I enjoy problem solving with them. The more we do it together and leverage each other's strengths, I think the African proverb is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
That's great.
To be perfectly honest, I haven't even put up a status on LinkedIn. I don't know what to say just
Mm,
yet, because I know that if I do that, I'm going to naturally have the people that I've worked with and that I have a good relationship with reach out, and I don't know what to say to them.
mm,
I feel like the digital online space, especially LinkedIn, is very interesting in that regard. I'd
yes.
love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think that it is a really powerful tool for professional brand. It's a powerful tool for positioning. And if you can get clear on what you want and articulate that on your profile, that's going to be the first impression with potential employers, hiring managers, recruiters, etc. Which is why it is important to get it right for you, because everyone looks there. That's credibility. Is this person legit? Go to LinkedIn. There they are. This is what they stand for. This is what they've done. This is what they're good at. And I think that's a very powerful tool that needs to be leveraged by all of us. And I think we should talk about that in the next episode.
Definitely. I'm happy to do a deeper dive into LinkedIn. I've had a love-hate relationship with it.
As do I. As do I.
I think this, tying into your point before around, it takes work to understand how to present that information. So definitely understand that it needs to be leveraged, but I'm also personally and aligned to my values and principles. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell is going on and what the next steps actually look like. And it's a journey.